So welcome to another video from theplayersaid.com. My name's Alexander.
And I'm Grant.
And we're here with Akar Bharadvaj. It's close enough. I'm so sorry. We're here at San Diego Historicon. And sorry, I'm honestly like razzed right now.
Yeah, we're pretty tired.
This is the last day of the con. We've played a lot of games, and it's a lot of new and interesting stuff. And we wanted to sit down with you. We've just played kind of a demo turn. It was a kind of a four-card CDG style game of your upcoming game, which has been in the works for a while. And I want to just kind of throw it to you for a bit, just to introduce the game to everyone, let us know what we've got going on.
First off, the name.
Yes. So this is Tyranny of Blood. It was the first prize winner in the Zenobia Award last time. And it's modeling changes to the Indian social structure under British colonialism with a focus on the caste system and dynamics there.
And a very unique way of doing that as well. How did you come up with this caste hierarchy track?
So I did a lot of research into how the caste system worked and kind of thought through about the two major dynamics in there. So it's so-called, it's a religious conformity as well as worldly prestige, kind of fused together to make one hierarchy that is very complex and has a lot of moving parts to it.
So this game, at least we sat 4 players. Can it play less at this point, or is it a 4-player game?
Currently, it's a 4-player game. I'm trying to think through ways to branch it out, at least make a 2-player variant, if nothing else.
So in this game, everyone plays a different kind of part of the caste system?
Yes.
And so working through to gain their own kind of victory points, advancing their path.
Yes. So I made this game as part of a criticism of this often abusive hierarchical system, trying to think through why do societies oppress certain people and how do different elements of society come together to form a society. And so each player has a very different amount of power, a very different place in the society, different goals. The big challenge I had was thinking through victory conditions in terms of how to have a so-called winner in a system that's fundamentally unfair, and it's kind of based on who does the most to change the system, not so much who's the most powerful at the end of the game.
So, also with this game, I know it's winner of the Zenobia Award. Also, congratulations.
Thank you.
Great job.
Now, did you have this kind of an idea for this in mind before those awards, or the awards were like, hey, this is an opportunity to think about something and put something together?
It was the latter. So I basically, I have this, I've kind of tentatively wanted to make a game for a while. It's been kind of a pipe dream, and I heard about this contest, and I was like, oh, sure. All it asked was to write, I think, 1 or 2 paragraphs about a topic. And I'm like, I can do that. So I came up with a list of maybe 20 different game topics and thought through several of them, and then this was the one I kept coming back to, just kind of interesting perspective of, there's a lot of games out there that model the so-called great man theory of history. I don't know of many that model kind of the class struggle theory of history, and I wanted to talk about it in an interesting way.
So, this game, obviously it's kind of in the works and in development. How long have you been working on it, and then how much more do you feel that needs to be done with it?
So it's been almost 3 years now that I've been working on this game. That includes background research and all that aspect of it. It is a lot better and more streamlined. I know you might not believe that based on what you just played.
No.
But
I think you're saying that because it is very complex and involved.
Yes.
And we play a lot of coin series or regular conflicts. They all have a lot of menus of actions, asymmetry. But this has that plus some complexity with the caste system and some other things that are going on. It's not a bad thing. It's just, it actually makes a game more interesting because you're going to learn and grow and develop with that game as you play it over and over again.
Right.
So don't take that as a bad thing.
Thanks. No, it needs a lot of streamlining, and it's the big challenge is because it's such a morally challenging problem. Like I want to make sure I give a lot of respect to the topic, and that requires a lot of lot of detail, a lot of complexity, and so that's been kind of a big challenge. Is how do I simplify game mechanics while still showing the proper respect to the topic?
Well, I think that's one of the things I've been impressed by the Zenobia Award and that concept. It's really trying to get more into the history and the why of the history, not just necessarily the what.
Yes.
I think a lot of times we play games that are just about, but this is going to help you understand, okay, here's why this was like it was, here's the benefits to the different, because the game, ultimately, like you were the trading empire, I can't remember the name.
Vaishas, the merchants.
You ended up kind of working with, you wanted to work a little bit more with the British there for a moment.
I'm like against my own maybe national interests.
For your own
from the
personal
outside, it
interest.
still looks like
And that's fascinating. To me, that's one of the hallmarks of asymmetric design is trying to figure out that why and then put that into a playable faction. So bravo on that. I think we all did things differently. It felt different. And really every action kind of had an equal and opposite negative effect or positive effect. Maybe talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so the general idea, it's sort of semi-cooperative. You can't work alone in this game. You need, every action you take has a benefit or penalty to another player. Things come at expense to each other. There's a lot of working together. There's a lot of opposition. There's a lot. Alexander, as you said, there's a British bot that you sometimes want to work with, sometimes want to oppose, depending on who you are. If you're a merchant, maybe you get a lot of money by trading with the British. If you are the labor caste, maybe you don't care, you're oppressed regardless of who runs India. You might not care so much about that aspect. So that sort of interactivity and play between interlocking systems, I think, is kind of something I was hoping to get across with this game.
Now, this is a card-driven game, right?
Yes.
And you used Here I Stand kind of as a model. Maybe talk about that a little bit.
Yes, so Here I Stand's my favorite game.
It's awesome.
It's excellent.
We love it.
And I love I loved how it portrays asymmetry. I love that not every player necessarily cares about everything that's going on in the game, so it kind of lowers the cognitive load. Right now, I'm actually planning on taking a step back and trying to examine the fundamental aspects of the game. If there's a better action selection mechanism, what are the possibilities there? But I think for now, given there's so many details, so many different historical events, I thought card-driven game was a good way to go with that.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things about this game. It covers a very long portion of history, and so having the cards allows you to put some of those in where maybe, because I think each round was like 50 years or something. You would miss so much almost without having cards. I thought that was really nice because some of the events that I had were like awful things that would happen, or it was like natural disasters that would have a massive impact that on smaller scales you just don't see. So I thought that was a really interesting part of it. Even as a prototype, just reading those little bits was really fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, one thing I really liked about this game is just how nuanced it is. We've played what I would say is a number of games that have come out of different awards and competitions and things, and this is one of probably the most complex in that it is so layered and nuanced, and it feels like a really big game. And that's, to me, is a big credit because, yeah, it's not. Sometimes you can have a nice little quick game or these little micro games, but having an awards be able to push something that's this kind of grand, I think is really, really neat. And we saw it on the table a couple of days ago. I was like, oh, that looks cool. And when we sat down, and it's like, oh wow, there is so much here to explore. And that's just going to be the one person that you play or the one faction that you play. And then it's a totally different game if you just switch seats. And I'm excited to play more of this when this eventually hits the table as well.
And it's complex, but I don't think you put complexity in just to make it complex. You're trying to tell a very nuanced and really broad tale of India and their relationship with the British Empire, and you need some of that complexity. So I felt like it's a big game. I felt like it was a big bite, but it's not undoable, nor is it unnecessary to have that level of complexity because you need it to tell the story.
And it's what, 4 turns? And you have 4 or 5 cards in a hand.
Yes.
So it's even though it's big and there's lots to consider, how long's a full game take? surely not that long.
I mean, if you're familiar with the game, probably 3 hours or so.
That's also a credit. Every action that I would take had all these knock-on effects, and it was like I would be helping someone, and then they would parlay that into other things, or I had cards that would like just hurt everyone. I'm like, okay, that's good for me because everyone else is down, but then I'm also down. There's just so much to consider, and I really liked how much there was, but having it in a 3-hour package instead of like an 8-hour package of Here I Stand is very cool as well.
Can you go into a little more detail on the caste hierarchy track, explain kind of what it's trying to model and how it does it?
So it's trying to model very slow social changes throughout society, and as I did research, I was kind of thinking through what it meant to have the distorting effects of colonialism on the society, and so kind of the big weird translations. I noticed as the merchants had more opportunity to trade with people, they got a lot more money, and they could try to translate that into a higher status in society. So all of a sudden, people who had been sort of downtrodden, they could afford to lend money to the kings to donate to the temple, and they could translate that into other sorts of power. And then you also had things like the educated, the sort of religious caste. They managed to translate their literacy into administrative power under the British. And so over the course of the game, we have these Jatis or subcastes, and they basically move and shift their amount of power in society very slowly. Like you said, each turn is 50 years, so these things happen very slowly, but they do happen. And something like the British Empire, I mean, was a huge force on this level of oppression. I think the other thing I wanted to get across was kind of the trickle-down effect of colonial oppression. You saw that the traditional elites, once they lost their sources of power, they took it out on other folks, and there was that level of continuing oppression, and I wanted to get that across here. There's also an aspect of religious conversion, so over the course of the game, there's the sort of power of the traditional hierarchy that can drop as people move to other religions, people get more secular, that kind of threatens the traditional hierarchy, and that is also an aspect of the game.
Well, I'm very excited for more of this in the future. I know it's a prototype and we've got some bits going forward, but loosely in your brain, do you have an idea of how long this might be before this might come to production?
Right now I'm hoping for 2025. Fingers crossed, we'll see.
Yeah. Sure. But yeah, I had a really good time playing this. It was very fascinating. So I appreciate you sitting down and teaching us and walking us through this as well.
Well, and I love playing games on things that we've not gamed before. Thank you for bringing this forward. I know obviously it's a part of your heritage and history and background. I mean, that's awesome. But thank you for sharing this with others who don't understand or know. And I'm not going to say I learned everything that I need to know about it, but it opens my eyes and maybe will lead me to read something or look at something. So thank you.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, so appreciate you teaching us this and sitting down with us. If you have any interest in anything about this game, follow along. It's on BGG, is it on there? You go and have a look. That it's a fascinating thing, and hopefully we get to see the journey of this game come to fruition very soon. But appreciate everyone for tuning in. I've been Alexander for thePlayersaid.com.
And I'm Grant.